My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 298 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let's look at the success that was UFC Vegas 86. There have been 4 events so far in 2024, and we have profited in all 4 of those events. The safety parlay has hit in all 4 of those events. Jacob has his underdog lock of the week. He is 3-0-1 through 4 events. So to say 2024 has been good to us is an understatement. Last night specifically, I put up 22% return on investment. Jacob put up 25% return on investment. His underdog lock of the week, Bogdan Yuskov, not only did he win, but he took Jacob to the promised land with the under 1.5 and the wins by KO, TKO. We had the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game, and the premium member safety parlay hit yet again. And it continues to hit time and time again. The premium member safety parlay is the beacon of stability in the MMA betting space. I have hit 10 of the last 11 parlays. It hits at a 72% event rate, and the lifetime ROI is 31%. I don't have the pay-per-view statistics on this slide, but if I did, it would say Mr. Pay-per-view, because I dominate the pay-per-views historically. Now, here's your caveat. It says hit 10 of the last 11. It doesn't say hit every one ever. Eventually, we'll lose one. The good news is we hit way more than we lose, and I am very confident in the UFC 298 safety parlay. If you want to unlock this parlay and so much more, it's only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top, and it's $10 for an entire month. If you sign up right now, you will get 4 events worth of picks, bets, round line leans, tools, insight, and safety parlays. And it's not just a couple of bets, as I mentioned. It's not just some guy on the internet with a Patreon. We have built a fully interactive website with everything you could ever need, including tools like the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get detailed data, metrics, and analytics. 38 columns of data and information that you can use to find your spots. I like this for prop bets. Very quickly, I can see takedown defense, takedown offense, strikes landed, strikes absorbed. And then when those prop bets drop, boom, there's my data right there, ready to go. You're also going to get a DraftKings optimizer. If you play DraftKings Fantasy, you know how important a DraftKings optimizer is, and it will be preloaded with the best ownership projections in the game. There are daily fantasy companies out there. The only thing they do is daily fantasy, and they charge $60 to $150 per sport. And they're going to give you an optimizer like the one we have. They're going to give you ownership projections like the ones we have. But the difference is we quite literally have the best ownership projections in the game. I can't take credit for that. I pay a little statistics, I don't know if he's short or not, but I'm going to pretend he's short. I pay a little statistics guy to go out there, crunch the numbers, and we have put the best numbers on the board every single freaking event. It's actually astonishing. If you're going to compare our numbers to the Awesemo, the Roto Grinders, the people charging hundreds of dollars a month, and we're putting up the best numbers, it's incredible. $10 a month will get you all of that and more. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. If you want to send us something, you can send us something. Here's the address. For every single pay-per-view, we film a vlog. In that vlog, we will open up some mail. I already have a couple of letters to open up for the UFC 298 vlog that I will film this weekend. We got a wild championship belt for Jacobs and I fight. And if you want to see how that fight went, well, you're going to have to wait. Jacob is editing the video. We had 5 cameras set up. We fought. We recorded all of it. Jacob is editing the video. That will hit the channel at some point. And you can see who won and who took that belt home. But here's the address if you do want to send something. Somebody sent food. A couple people called me fat. We've gotten a couple of really nice letters and a couple of shirts. So here's the box. Send it. We'll open it up on the pay-per-view vlog. Let's go ahead and break down this card. We only have 12 fights. This is a pay-per-view. We had 13 fights, 1 drop. That one might resurrect itself if they get a short notice opponent. But for now, there are only 12 fights on this card. So we need to keep our fingers crossed that there's nothing dicey that happens in the next couple of days and that nobody drops on the scale, because it's going to be very disappointing if we go into a pay-per-view with 10 fights. That would suck. But opening up UFC 298, we have Andrea Lee taking on Miranda Maverick. This is an interesting fight, and this will determine where Miranda Maverick sits in the flyweight divisional rankings. This is a fight she should win, but I don't know if it's going to be as easy as the odds are indicating, because Andrea Lee is a dynamic striker. She uses the basics of striking very well. She's very tough. She's got improved grappling as well. She's averaging about 2 takedowns per fight. She took down Macy Barber 5 times in that close loss. Her takedown defense can use a little bit of work. It sits at 54%, but her striking is clean, and she could beat most people in this division in just a pure striking match. She is coming off that one-sided loss to Natalia Silva, but as we all know, Natalia Silva may be world champion in a year or two. She's taking on Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick is a pressure fighter with solid takedowns and activity. She's very strong, and she's going to use that strength well. She averages more than 2 takedowns per fight, but when she cannot get the takedown, she can struggle a little bit. She does have a positive striking differential of 4-3, but her goal is typically to work forward and get a takedown. She's coming off the submission win over Priscilla Caceres, where she stepped up on short notice, got the takedowns, and then the eventual 3rd round finish. I am going to pick Miranda Maverick here. And not only because she has delicious pickles. If you didn't know that, she has a pickle company called Prowler Pickles. I ordered them. I ate them. I put it on a vlog, the holiday vlog. They were fantastic, honestly. And the customer service was excellent. So get yourself some pickles. Support the fighters. If you're not support the fighters, what are we doing? Anyway, Miranda's the pick. I think that her pressure is going to work here. I think she can come forward. She can crowd. She will get the takedowns. We know she's tough. I know she's going to move forward no matter what's happening in the striking department. But I am going to caution you here. You're going to see that Andrea Lee is on a 3-fight skid. You're probably just going to immediately dismiss her. But you should not. She has definitely fought the tougher slate of competition between these two women. And every single name on Andrea Lee's resume is a good fighter, or at least was a good fighter at the time that they fought. So her last 3 losses are all to ranked opponents that are impossible to put away. And Andrea Lee is also impossible to put away. Miranda Maverick is going to be the pick. I'm not going to touch the money line. I think it's a little juiced, but I think the over 2.5 in this fight is probably the lock of the card. You can parlay the over 2.5 rounds because neither one of them are particularly dangerous. Miranda Maverick more dangerous than Andrea because of the ground game, but Andrea's got good enough takedown defense, good enough wherewithal that she's not just going to be taken down instantly and then in an armbar. So Miranda's the pick. Over 2.5 is probably going to be the bet. Then we have Oban Elliott taking on Val Woodburn. And you're going to recognize the Val Woodburn name. He's the guy who stepped up on insanely short notice to fight Bo Nickel. And when I say insanely short notice, it was like literally 24 hours or something absurd like that. So he stepped up. He went in there with the guy who could potentially be the best middleweight we've seen. And no, he got knocked out cold. But Val Woodburn is a powerful striker. I mentioned he stepped up on short notice, only to be knocked out by a wrestler, but he's a short, jacked powerhouse of a guy. Very clear power, but he does have some other skills as well. He's got some solid cage control, good takedown defense, and he has surprising cardio for a guy built like him. And I said short. He's not short. He looks like he would be short because he's just so freaking jacked, but he's not. He's a big dude. He's got the physique that we would all dream of. And surprising cardio. You look at a guy built like that and you're like, this guy's got about 30 seconds of cardio. But no. He can fight a full 15 minutes. He's wildly dangerous. He typically does have a pretty solid chin outside of that last fight. But in his defense, the Bo Nickel loss was wildly short notice, and he did defend a takedown. That 100% takedown defense is against Bo Nickel, the most accomplished wrestler to enter the octagon since DC. But he ate that overhand. He's taking on Oban Elliott. This guy's a well-rounded guy. He also has 15 full minutes of cardio and plenty of tools in the bag. When he's striking, he's going to like to dance around on the outside, fire off overhands, and come in. He's fast. He's athletic. He's got flashy spins. Okay takedown defense, though. If he is taken down, he does work to his feet well, and he doesn't chase submissions that aren't there. He will get a takedown or two of his own, but they're typically from the clinch. Overall, he's a well-rounded guy who's not amazing anywhere, but he can grind. This is a pretty straightforward breakdown and potentially my 3rd inside the distance decision no action bet of the card. If you don't know what that means, basically, I'm going to bet on Val Woodburn. I'll tell you right now. We don't have prop bets yet, but I'm going to bet on Val Woodburn. And the bet is going to be wins inside the distance decision no action. What that means is if Val Woodburn wins this fight inside the distance by knockout or submission, I'll get paid. But if he loses a decision, I'll get a full refund. Those bets are fantastic for dangerous underdogs that are tough. And yes, Val was just knocked out, but I think Bo Nickel is a special guy, and I think short notice matters. I think Oban isn't as dangerous, isn't as powerful, but is the better fighter. So Oban is going to be the pick. For Oban to be a 3-1 favorite is kind of wild. He is not dangerous at all. But he can grind, he can be busy, he's the more well-rounded guy here. Oban probably wins a decision, which means I'll get a refund if Val doesn't finish the fight, but I'll get paid if he does. Those odds haven't dropped yet. We don't have prop bets yet. We most likely will have those on Tuesday. But if you are a premium member, make sure you go to your account page, click the link Discord button. This way, when I do place that bet, you will instantly get an alert to your phone. This bet dropped, Angelo placed it. If you like it, great, you tail. If you don't, then you move on. But at least you didn't miss out on that bet or those odds. So Oban's going to be the pick because I do think he can grind his way to a decision. But based on the odds, based on the durability, and based on the lack of danger on the Oban-san, Val Woodburn inside the distance decision, no action is the most likely bet. But obviously, we got to wait for those odds. If you're not a premium member, become one. I don't know how many times we have to win. I don't know how often that safety parlay has to hit to convince you. It's freaking $10. $10 a month. What are we doing? The UFC is giving $10 discounts if you buy UFC 298 early. Buy it early. Take that $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Then we have another interesting fight with some interesting odds. We have Josh Quinlan taking on Danny Barlow. Josh Quinlan, I mean, we got a 2-1 favorite in this fight. We got Josh Quinlan, dangerous striker, very real power. He does have 2 wins in the UFC, and he's knocked out both of those opponents. One of those wins was on the Contender Series that was flipped to a no contest because of a couple of USADA issues on the Quinlan side. But he won that fight by knockout. He's not just a striker, though. He does have a BJJ black belt. He actively competes in grappling competitions. He's a very dangerous guy who comes off the first decision of his career. It was a loss, but we saw that he can go a little bit longer than just a quick knockout. And it was a straightforward loss to Trey Waters, where he landed half the strikes, couldn't really get things going. But to his credit, he didn't just chase power. It wasn't like he was just bombing overhands, being like, why can't I knock this guy out? Like what Joe Pyfer was doing at the end of his fight. But he did lose that fight, and it was his first decision of his career. He's taking on Danny Barlow. This guy's a rangy striker with very real power. He likes to work outside of the pocket, but he will enter the pocket with some lead uppercuts and hooks. Even though he has a bunch of early finishes, he does take his time and wait for his shots. He's composed, and he'll sit. He'll look for the opening instead of just chasing and looking for power. He's got powerful kicks. All around a very dangerous guy. He does not like getting pressure, and when he does, he tends to shell up and then shoot takedowns. On the ground, he's got his own solid BJJ and good positioning. Overall, he's a solid prospect who should be fun to watch. Both of these guys are dangerous. Both of these guys are very well-rounded, and this is a pretty good matchup to measure different Contender Series prospects. I do think Quinlan is getting a little disrespected here with this line. He's the 2-1 underdog for the most part. I can see why people are confident in Danny. He's a patient guy. He's powerful. He can grapple. We also just watched Josh not be able to get his hands going. And that same type of performance here not only gets him another loss, but potentially will get him finished. I am going to pick Danny, but this line is borderline crazy. I think this fight should be far closer and should be almost a pick 'em. Neither one of them have a ton of experience. Both of them pretty well-rounded. Both of them have some power. But I am going to go Danny because I think he can control that striking pace. And we just watched Josh Quinlan not be able to control the striking pace. Then we have Mingyang Zhang taking on Brendson Ribeiro. Mingyang Zhang came through the road to the UFC tournament. He worked all the way through that entire tournament, and he's got plenty of finishes along the way. He's dangerous, but it's mostly ground and pound dangerous. Of course, we have seen the raw power. He's got some powerful striking, but typically he's looking to mix it up on his feet, then close the distance and work these fights to the ground where he's going to have fantastic pressure and gets most of his finishes. He's got an excellent record with a 100% finish rate, and that is split between knockouts and submissions, but I would say 90% of those, as a reminder, are on the ground. Yes, he has a 1 or 2 knockouts on the feet, but for the most part, it's drag you to the ground, rain down elbows from there. He can be very sloppy on his feet, but he is tough, and he will continue to move forward. He's taking on Brendson Ribeiro. This guy is an offensive striker with solid grappling. I say offensive striker because he likes to move forward and bomb away, but he is very hittable. Think Joe Pyfer. Can't defend the jab. His takedowns are mediocre. But if a fight does end up on the ground, he's very aggressive and he hunts for submissions. He's dangerous both on top and off of his back. While Ribeiro's got a pretty well-rounded offense and can win a fight everywhere, he does have a quit button and he can be finished. He's coming off that underdog knockout win on the Contender Series, which earned him this UFC slot. Right now, we got Zhang as a minus 140 favorite. And on the surface, I get it. And it makes plenty of sense. He's got good power. He can grapple. Ribeiro has been finished in 4 of his 5 losses. But I'm going the dog here. I like Ribeiro. I think his offense is the more dangerous of the two. I think Zhang is his record's a bit hollow. You start digging through the 22 fights. See how fast I did that math? I looked up 16-6. All right, 16-4 is 20. And then there's 2 more, 22. I mean, that's some Goodwill Hunting shit right there. Anyway, you dig through his 22 fights. I think you'll see that his opponents weren't the best. I think it's a bit of a hollow record. I think Ribeiro can get it done. As long as he's all gas and no brakes and continues to move forward and bombs away, I think he's the more dangerous of the two. I wish he had a little more defense. If he had a little more defense, I would actually throw some money on him, but he does get hit and he can be finished. So I am going to pick Ribeiro here. We'll see. This line might take off. And if the line takes off, then Ribeiro's going to be worth it. Until then, I'm just going to keep my eye on the line movement tracker, see what we got going on there, because I think Ribeiro can win this fight, but again, he gets hit, and I don't like that. If you're not a premium member, become one. Then we have Rinya Nakamura. I do not believe we have odds just yet for this fight. This fight was sort of slapped together, and they're just sitting. They're chilling. We got a little bit of a short notice step up here. But Rinya Nakamura is a fantastic wrestler. Just like Zhang, he came through the road to the UFC tournament and dominated. He's a great wrestler, high-level wrestling credentials, and very, very good submissions as well. And he's not a desperate grappler. You might hear that, right? Great submissions, phenomenal wrestler. He's just going to be diving at legs. But he doesn't really. He's got great power, and he lets it fly. His striking is actually pretty wild, and I think it's because he's so confident in his ability to defend a takedown. He doesn't care. Go ahead, shoot. I'm going to bomb these punches, and I'll shoot when I want to. He does get overcommitted, but again, his takedown defense is so good, it doesn't matter. He is the real deal. He's got 8 wins with 6 stoppages. His combination of high-level wrestling matched with genuine power can be an issue for a good amount of this division. He's coming off that lopsided win over Fernie Garcia to get him his second official UFC win. He's taking on Carlos Vera. This guy is short, he's thick, he's very athletic, and he moves well. He's got a loose striking style where he has constant movement and tons of kicks. He is well-rounded enough to strike, wrestle, and grapple, but his takedowns and hips aren't great, and he actually somehow ends up in trouble after taking most of his shots. He has aggressive BJJ off his back, and he will roll for anything that he can find. He's at that Ryan Hall fight camp, so you can expect a whole lot of BJJ nerd stuff, rolling for things that aren't there, butt scooting, not shooting proper takedowns. On his feet, he's going to wing wild punches, but he will throw creatively, and he will put some power behind them. On the ground, he'll chill in guard while hunting for something. He's coming off the loss in the Ultimate Fighter House to the eventual winner, Brad Katana. I mentioned we don't really have odds for this yet. I imagine once the odds drop, I don't know when you're watching this, they may exist when you're watching this, but Rinya's going to be a big-time favorite. Carlos is stepping up on short notice for the second time. The first time the fight didn't happen. This time, hopefully it does, because as I mentioned, we only have 12 fights on this card, and we can't afford to lose another fight, let alone one with a lock like Rinya and a prospect like Rinya. I think the wrestling, the pressure, the grappling awareness is going to be more than enough to get this done. So Rinya's going to be a lock, and if we get something like minus 300, 400, even 500, then yeah, do something with it. If he's Bo Nickel crazy at minus 11, 12, it's not worth it. That value is long gone, and these are still fist fights. I know there's a tendency to be like, all right, here's an interesting statistic. Chris Riley, if you've been here for a long time, you know who he is. Vegas guy, worked at sports books, worked everywhere, understands this industry quite well. He told me that 90% of sports bets are $5 or less to win $1,000 or more, which is a wild statistic. It means everybody's putting together these insane parlays. And I get it. I totally get it. And I know the tendency will be, oh, here's 4 or 5 fighters I'm positive will win. Let's add Rinya in there. The odds are trash, but let's add Rinya in there. And for other sports, maybe that makes sense. And you know what? Rinya wins this fight 90 out of 100 times, 95 out of 100 times. But this is still MMA. One punch changes everything. One eye poke the ref doesn't see changes everything. There's a lot that can happen. Far more than a team sport, right? In order for a big favorite in a team sport to lose, a lot of things have to go wrong. Only one thing for half a second has to go wrong in MMA. And that's why I'm not a big fan of parlaying these massive favorites just to add a couple of dollars. The odds aren't worth the risk. So my recommendation is if Rinya is a massive favorite, just leave it alone. Same with Bo Nickel at 300. He's already minus 1,500. There's nothing to do there. There is no value there. It is not worth it. That's just a little bit of advice from me to you. But what the hell do I know, right? Then we have Marcos Rogerio de Lima taking on Justin Tafa. Not typically a big heavyweight kind of guy, but this could actually be an interesting fight. We got Marcos Rogerio de Lima, big guy, powerful guy. He does have some striking. He's got grappling. He's got wrestling as well. He's not the fastest, The lisp is back. I thought I beat it. He's not the fastest, most athletic guy in the division, but he can land heavy, he can get takedowns, and he can work some BJJ. He's got a grinding style that works well for him to slow down the pace. Because again, he's not that fast. He needs to get the pace where he wants it so that he can just sloth his way to a win. He is coming off that very fast knockout loss to the all-time KO king, Derek Lewis. And that was a flying knee. I was positive Marcos de Lima was going to beat Derek Lewis. And then whoomp, all of a sudden that guy's flying through the sky. Knee first. He's taking on Justin Tafa. This guy's a heavyweight striker. He's got big power, a fantastic chin. If he gets his kicks going, which is not all the time, he's got solid kicks as well. 0 takedowns in the UFC, but he's also never been taken down. If you swing and bang with Tafa, you could be in some very real trouble. But if you take your time, you pot around, you dance, you jab, 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 you can have some success. He's coming off that knockout win over Austin Lane at UFC 293. Marcos is the favorite here, and he probably should be, right? He's all around the better fighter. He's got better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling, solid striking himself, good cage awareness, but he does not have the power advantage, and I think he will struggle taking down the giant-thighed Justin Tafa. Dude, that matters. Those big-ass thighs, those big-ass hips, not the tallest guy in the world, getting under there to work a takedown is not easy. And if Marco thinks he's going to clinch and underhook and trip, also not easy. Justin's got good awareness. His ass will be backed out, and you're not going to be able to drag him to the ground. So I think Marcos is going to struggle trying to take Justin down, and I think Justin could potentially find that button. He has found it on pretty much everybody else, and I think he could find it here as well. Marco's the all-around better fighter. Marco should be smart enough at 38 years old with 30 fights. Again, the math just so fast. Should have the experience and the wherewithal to say, I don't want to be in the pocket with this guy. I'm probably going to struggle to take him down. So I either need to be all the way out, jab, 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 or all the way in, holding this guy against the cage, getting booed, but cashing my check. With that being said, this will probably be my second, at least rundown order, my second inside the distance decision, no action bet. I think Justin Tafa is more than enough durable to not get finished here. And all the finishing upside is on his side. When those odds drop, I'll take a look. I'll let you know. But if Justin Tafa knocks out Marco de Lima, I'll get paid. If he loses the decision the exact same way that he did to Jared Vandera a couple of years ago, well, I'll get a full refund. Who cares? No skin off my back. If you want to see that bet and all the other ones, go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 a month. And if you know anything, you know that we have 4 events in that month. We actually have 10 more events coming up as well. So that $10 is really only $2.50 per event. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Then we have another interesting fight. And anybody who watches my breakdowns, you have heard me rant and rave about Mackenzie Dern more than one time. I go on and on about how god-awful her wrestling is and what a joke it is to be fighting at this level and having no idea how to take somebody to the ground when you're the most dangerous ground fighter potentially in all of UFC. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold that in. So strike what you just heard, and I'm going to try not to be a hater of the grappling nerd that is Mackenzie Dern, the insanely tough grappling nerd. But let's start with Amanda. Amanda's a Muay Thai striker. She's got fast hands and plenty of power. For the most part, she does a pretty good job keeping her fights at that Muay Thai range and avoiding takedowns. She's got plenty of power, solid BJJ, but she can lose scrambles and transitions if you're taking some real shots. She is coming off the destruction loss to Wei Li, though, where her takedowns before the fight, her takedown defense before that fight was 81%. 81%. Working her way through the UFC ranks, earning a title shot. And then she fought Wei Li, and now her takedown defense is at 55%. She got ragdolled. She had no success anywhere in that fight, but we did see how insanely tough she is. And Mackenzie Dern is also insanely tough. She is not soft. Her skills are insanely limited, but she's not soft. She's an amazing grappler who was supposed to be this giant prospect for the UFC, right? She's pretty. She's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu, insanely dangerous. Somehow she's an American, grew up in America, born here, did all things, and she has an accent. English is somehow her second language. That's sarcasm because she fakes her accent. Anyway, and if you think that was a wild statement for me to make, there's videos on YouTube literally called The Evolution of Mackenzie Dern's Accent. Go watch it. It's unbelievably funny. She's like 16 years old, like, hi, my name's Mackenzie. And then she's 28 years old with a translator in the octagon. I'm not even going to do the impression. A translator. She's from Rhode Island. Anyway, she's supposed to be this giant prospect. But her skills did not progress as quickly as her stardom did. Her grappling continues to be elite. But the wrestling sucks. The striking, while is improving, not great as well. She has a negative striking differential, a horrific 14% takedown accuracy. Imagine being, I can't control myself. Imagine being the most dangerous jiu-jitsu fighter in the division and having a 14% takedown accuracy. Mackenzie, stop training jiu-jitsu. You don't need to. You're so far past everybody else. You don't need to train it anymore. Only train wrestling. Get off your butt, stop scooting, and just drill takedown after takedown, scramble after scramble, drill your entries, wrestle. Just wrestle. Just only wrestle. You don't even need to learn striking. Your jiu-jitsu is so good. If you only learn wrestling, you will beat 99% of the people in this division. I'm done breaking her down. It annoys me because she's so freaking talented and has so much potential, but no takedowns. Look what Ronda Rousey did. Yeah, the sport passed her by, but look what Ronda Rousey did with a hip toss. Granted, she was a judo Olympian, but with a hip toss and an armbar. Look what Ronda Rousey, her striking sucked too, but it didn't matter. So Mackenzie, please train the rest. Stop grappling. You're done. You're so much better than everybody. You don't need to learn a single other thing. Only wrestle. But she is wildly tough. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to do the rant, and I just can't help myself. As a lifelong wrestler, I'll never understand the dynamic of being that good on the ground and that bad at getting it there. I'll never understand that. Wusa. Remember this? Tell me what movie this is from. Wusa. Anyway, we got two really tough women. Two very good women. This is a great matchup. Great matchmaking. And this wouldn't be the first time that I've gone on a Mackenzie Dern rant and then she showed up. Look what she did versus Angela Hill. She outstruck Angela Hill. Angela Hill's not a world champion, but Angela Hill has fought plenty of world champions, and Mackenzie Dern outstruck her. Lightning can strike twice. Mackenzie can have some success here. Amanda just got beat worse than anybody in this division has ever been beat in a title fight. I mean, beat down. So maybe she's not there mentally. Maybe at 36 years old, she's like, I'm never going to get another title shot. That was a bad loss. Maybe. And the stars will align for Mackenzie to win here. But I have to lean Amanda. She's going to be the much better striker. Her takedown defense is 10 times better than it needs to be to defend Mackenzie Dern's takedowns. So how the hell am I not going to pick her to win? Amanda Lemos is going to be the pick. I think the odds at minus 125, based on the rant I just went on, are fantastic odds. Again, Mackenzie is a high-level athlete who is insanely tough. She could pull something off. I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead. Mackenzie, sorry. Amanda Lemos is going to be the pick here for all the reasons and all the ranting that I just went through. Guys, before we hit the main card, here's a reminder of how good the safety parlay is. I have hit 10 of the last 11. A 72% event win rate, 31% lifetime ROI, and you can unlock this safety parlay and literally everything else we do at WeWantPicks.com. Just click become a member at the top. And if you want a couple of dollars, I'll send you 50 of them. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/bet, sign up with any one of our partners, make a deposit. We send you 50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing. They're going to pay me. I'm going to slice off some of that money and give it right back to you. Go to the website, use the link, get your money. And opening up the main card, we have an interesting fight. This actually should be a very fun fight, but as far as star power is concerned, a pay-per-view opener, this is not a pay-per-view main card. I don't even know if this is a featured prelim on a fight night as far as name recognition is concerned. As far as excitement and entertainment is concerned, this should be a fantastic fight. We have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Roman Kopylov. Anthony Hernandez, very good grappler. He's averaging about 7 takedowns per fight, as I have highlighted many, many times before. While that's impressive, it also is just a stark reminder that you can't hold somebody down. There's only 3 rounds. If you average 3 takedowns per fight, all right, 1 takedown per round, you held him down the whole time, great. 7, people are standing up on you. Anyway, very good grappler. Solid wrestling with very real entries. He'll shoot takedowns. He is a BJJ black belt. And although he is willing to strike, that's not his path to victory. He is riding a 4-fight win streak, with the most recent being a ground and pound TKO over Edmund Shabazian. He's taking on Roman Kopylov. This guy's a very good kickboxer with professional kickboxing experience. He's going to pick his shots well, and then he will settle in and weave together combinations. He started his UFC career with 2 losses, where he was taken down and had absolutely no answer on the ground and no ability to work back up. But since then, he has strung together 4 knockouts in a row and reminded everybody that there are levels to striking. He has a 92% takedown defense, and he's going to need every bit of it in this fight. He's coming off that knockout win over Josh Freem back in September. This should be a really fun fight, and I was harsh and just joking about where this should sit on the card itself. But either way, this is a good fight. This will be a fun fight, and it should set one of these guys up for a ranked opponent next. They're both on nice win streaks. They both have been finishing their opponents, and they are both dog gamers. This is definitely a clash of styles, right? Hernandez is going to want to crowd, get this to the ground. Roman's going to want to make Anthony feel every single entry, make him pay anytime he's within striking distance. He's going to need Anthony to come close and then blast him and hit him hard every time to get Anthony to question, should I be shooting? Because every time I try to shoot, I'm eating a knee, I'm eating a kick, and this sucks. And for those reasons, I'm going to pick Roman Kopylov. He's got good takedown defense. Hopefully, his get-up game has improved a little bit, and we know, based on the 7 takedowns per fight average, Anthony is not great at holding people down. So we have the much better striker fighting a good grappler who struggles to hold people down. I'm going to go Roman here. He is going to be my dog. He sits at plus 155. I think those are fair odds. And I'm probably going to do a little sprinkle on Roman Kopylov to win. This is a potential inside the distance decision, no action bet situation, but maybe not, because they both finish, and Anthony could finish Roman. Roman could finish Anthony. Hopefully we get a 2.5 round line, and then I'll blast the under. But Roman's going to be the pick. I think he could defend some takedowns. If he gets taken down, I think he can get back up, and he's on the feet. That skill gap is going to be very, very wide. Then we have a heartbreaking fight. And I say heartbreaking because I'm a giant Henry Cejudo guy. I've been a massive fan of Henry Cejudo long before he started MMA. I have his book somewhere in my office when he won the Olympic gold medal for America. Henry Cejudo's a great guy. This is a tough fight. UFC hates both of these guys. So they're like, yeah, we hate you both. Why don't you fight each other? And then we can at least get rid of one of you. We got Merab Dvalishvili. This guy's got insane conditioning. Non-stop chain wrestler with pretty good striking. He times his takedowns incredibly well, and even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter because there's another shot right behind it. He averages 6.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and his last loss was in 2018 to Ricky Simone, who he still took down 6 times. His gas tank is insane. His willingness to stick to a wet blanket wrestling game plan does not have him in the UFC's good graces, but it does get him wins. He will wrap his arms around your waist, try to take you down, you pop back up. He'll stay on that waist and keep trying to take you down, you pop back up. So he's got an average of almost 7 takedowns per fight. So the control's not great, but the control time is insane because he holds you against the cage while trying to work you back down to the mat. He's coming off the decision win over Petr Yan where he had 11 takedowns. Petr just kept popping right back up and kept getting taken right back down. He is taking on Olympic gold medalist wrestler and former 2-division champion Henry Cejudo. 2-division champion, Olympic gold medal wrestler. That's why he calls himself Triple C. But he did retire in the middle of his title reign in 2020. A lot of people thought at the time that was a negotiation ploy, which it may have been. But he gave up the best years of his career. Gone. Either holding out on a contract or genuinely was just done with the sport. But he's back now. And while he is an Olympic wrestler, his takedown accuracy is only 34%. And he does have some very good striking, though. He breaks the mold of what you would think an Olympic wrestler would be. Positive striking differential. He will mix it up on his feet before working in shots. He is coming off that insanely close loss to Aljamain Sterling, where a lot of people think he won that fight and should have gotten the nod. I don't like that I'm breaking down this fight. I mentioned I love Henry Cejudo, and I have loved him long before he started MMA. I also think he won his last fight. I think he beat Aljamain. So in my eyes, he came back after a few years away, beat Aljamain Sterling to get his belt back, all likelihood beat Sean O'Malley as well. And while that's my reality in my head, that's not the actual reality. What ended up happening is Cejudo gave up 4 takedowns to Aljamain Sterling, and while he defended 11 other takedown attempts, it was not enough in that fight, and it's not going to be enough in this one. The UFC hates Merab because he's the most boring guy in the division. Actually, his personality is great. His social media presence is great. He's fun, funny, whatever. But his fight style is not very fun. And the UFC hates him for it. And the UFC knows he's going to beat almost everybody and be the most boring champion they've ever had. And so they're like, here, please, here's an Olympic medal. Please beat this guy. Like, we don't like Henry for the negotiation tactics, but at least he's not boring. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Merab's going to beat Henry Cejudo, probably take him down over and over again, lean on him, lay on him. If Aljamain Sterling and his trash takedowns took down Henry 4 times, I can't imagine what Merab is going to do. So Merab's going to be the pick. I will be rooting big time for Henry Cejudo here, but you got to go Merab. I thought I was on to something, and then I checked the odds. It's like, oh, Merab's a 2-to. Everybody knows this. So not the biggest surprise in the world. I just think 37 years old, gave up the best years of his career. And this is probably the toughest fight for him in the division. Literally the toughest fight for him in this division. Then we have Geoff Neal taking on Ian Machado Gary. This is another very good fight. And a lot of people on the Geoff Neal side here. And I can understand where they're coming from. Geoff Neal's a very good striker. He's got very real power. He's got solid volume, good takedown defense. Not the most technical guy in the world, but with his power and his aggression, he doesn't need to be. Geoff likes to dictate the pace, he likes to dictate the range, and he likes to control exchanges. If he can stay at that kickboxing range and use his kicks to set up that big power punch, he's going to have a ton of success. But if you get in his face, you tie him up, you keep the jab out there, he can get frustrated and exhausted. He's coming off that 3rd-round loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, where the takeaway was, oh shit, Geoff is good. That wasn't my takeaway. That was yours. And that's how you sound. Geoff is good. Like, you've got a little zest. I don't know why you do, but you do. He's taking on Ian Gary. Hyped prospect, controversial social media guy, bit of a turd personality-wise, but very good fighter. Solid striker, crazy hand speed, good footwork. He is hittable. That's a problem in this matchup, but he is hittable. And he lands an impressive almost 7 significant strikes per minute. He's got solid enough takedown defense to keep most fights standing. While he does have power, it's not big one-punch knockout power like Geoff has. It's more great timing and speed that just catches people off guard. Some may say he's had an easy road in the UFC, but we have seen him battle through adversity. In the Song Kanang fight a couple of fights ago, he was dropped early. He was dropped bad. But he put himself together, came back and won that fight. He's coming off the win over Neil Magny where he destroyed Neil's legs. And then a canceled fight against Vicente Luque at UFC 296 where he had an unknown illness after some internet drama. And if this fight was during that, if this was the matchup for the UFC 296 internet drama where Ian Gary was getting destroyed online for his marital and living situation, I would actually feel differently about this breakdown. Nobody can take the abuse that guy was taking online and just show up to fight day like nothing was wrong. Nobody. I don't care how mentally strong you are. And he does seem like a very mentally capable kind of guy. Without the entire Twitterverse attacking him, though, and attacking his personal choices, I think he should be able to come into this fight level-headed, fight a clean fight, control the distance, light up some legs, and avoid Neil's big power. There's a lot of people on the Geoff Neal side, including our very own Josh the Web Guy, and I totally get it. I have been screaming for a while that Ian Gary is very hittable. And if Geoff Neal hits him the way that Song Kanang did, Geoff Neal's not going to do some dumb shit like grapple. The only reason Song Kanang didn't finish Ian Gary is because after he had that dude 90% out cold, he decided to grapple. Worst decision of his entire career, and he's going to regret that for a long time. But I just think Ian Gary's much better striker. I think he will control the range, stay on the outside, pick Geoff apart, not overly commit, and avoid that big-time power. Either way, this is going to be another inside the distance decision, no action bet on Geoff Neal because he is durable. He is tough. He's a guy that you can frustrate and you can beat, but he's not a guy that you're just going to go out there, blast, 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 and finish him. He could take a punch. He could deliver a punch as well. All the finish upside is on the Geoff Neal side. I'm actually rooting for him to win. Not a big Ian Gary guy. I'm actually rooting for Geoff Neal to win here. So inside the distance decision, no action might be the bet, especially with the odds the way they are. I do think Ian Gary wins though, but he's not going to be anywhere near my safety parlay. And he has been in safety parlays in the past. But this is a different matchup. This is the most dangerous opponent he has ever fought. So let's see how this goes. Become a premium member. You can unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, and more at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. At first, I saw this matchup. I'm like, boom. First of all, this fight probably doesn't happen. Paulo Costa doesn't fight. I don't think he's a fighter anymore. I think he's an Instagram model. And then my second thought was, well, Robert Whittaker's going to dominate, right? Robert Whittaker's one of the best fighters on the planet. And then I was like, a little chinny sometimes. And Paulo Costa is a dog. So all of a sudden, my confidence was like, let me do more research. Sometimes I see the names I already know. And I felt that way, and then I was like, let me go rewatch some tape here because things may have changed in the middleweight division. We got Robert Whittaker, former middleweight champion of the world. Very diverse striker, good volume, very good takedowns. He's constantly mixing up the striking and the movement patterns. He's going to lay out really heavy leg kicks and then immediately charge forward and chase the head. His only losses since 2014 are to Israel Adesanya and the current champion, Dricus du Plessis. He has 12 takedowns in his last 6 fights, and it really cements him as one of the more well-rounded guys in the UFC. I mentioned he's coming off that surprising loss to Dricus du Plessis where he was finished in the second round. I was there live, and that was devastating. He was in the safety parlay, and that wasn't good. He's taking on Paulo Costa. Beautiful Paulo Costa. This guy is massive. And the height looks similar. You know, he's a massive person. And he's got a ton of power, a good amount of output, and surprising cardio for somebody his size with that physique. He also never fights. He has more canceled fights than actual fights in the last 3 years. The ratio is 5-1. 5 canceled fights, 1 actual fight in the last 3 years. But when he does fight, when he actually somehow makes it to the octagon, he's a ton of fun. He comes forward. Heavy, fast punches, a relentless pace. On average, he's landing 7 significant strikes per minute, which is double almost everyone else in the division. He also has very good takedown defense at 79%, and he might need that here because of Robert's well-roundedness. He's coming off the brotherly love win over Luke Rockhold back in 22. I say that because if you remember, they're like bleeding on each other, hugging. I think they kissed. It was bizarre, and thank God for pre-fight medicals and blood checks. It's very hard for me to pick against Robert Whittaker. He is insanely well-rounded, always well-prepared, but the Dricus loss has me worried. It's not as though he was winning and dominating at caught. He lost every minute of that fight. And while that turned out to be a respectable loss, right? Dricus went on and became the champion. I don't know if that's a window into broader things like a declining chin or a declining skill set. Paulo hits insanely hard. We know he has no problem being in a war. Go watch him versus Yoel Romero, one of the most exciting middleweight fights you'll ever see. I'm still going to pick Whittaker here. I'm probably going to leave him out of the safety parlay as well because I had him in the last one. Well, not my last safety parlay, but the last time he fought. Honestly, the best bet here might be that Paulo Costa misses weight. If you could bet on that, hammer it. Because, I mean, if history tells you anything. Anyway, the pick is going to be Whittaker. He's the better, more well-rounded fighter. 2-1 odds honestly seems fair. Just based off their body of work, based off activity, accomplishments, all of that. 2-1 seem like fair odds for Robert Whittaker. And if you go through Paulo Costa's resume, while he does have some incredible fights, Robert Whittaker's resume is 10 times what Paulo Costa's is. Robert Whittaker, clear pick for me, but a little scared. No safety parlay. Then we have the main event of the evening. A very controversial main event of the evening. As of this minute, Alexander Volkanovski is the underdog. The greatest featherweight of all time is the underdog in his title defense in a division that he has not lost in. It's incredible, actually. And I'm one of the biggest Elliott Topuria fans you're going to find. But the fact that Alexander Volkanov is an underdog is pretty surprising. Now, it's close. It's like minus 105 to minus 119, something like that. It's close, but he's still a dog. And it's odd because at this weight class, he hasn't even looked like a human being. At 155, different story. But at this weight class, hasn't even looked human. He's in the conversation for best pound-for-pound fighters we have ever seen. He's destroyed every single featherweight they have even sent in his direction. While he's not going to be a two-division champion anytime soon, he did show us in the first fight against Islam that he can hang. He's got takedowns, striking, grappling, cardio, high fight IQ, and he is building an all-time legacy. He lands more than 6 significant strikes per minute. He averages almost 2 takedowns for 15 minutes, and that is a testament to how well-rounded he is. He is coming off the short-notice knockout loss to Islam Makhachev only 3 months ago. But he did say, I was drinking every night. Like, yeah, and go ahead, go for it. Who gives a shit, right? You didn't have a fight booked. And then he stepped up, went in there, and he got knocked out. That is concerning. The 3 months is concerning. He's taking on Ilia Topuria. This guy's also incredibly well-rounded. Definitely the more dangerous of the two fighters. You might look at his record, see he's got knockouts in half of his UFC fights, and assume, oh, this guy's a striker. But he's also a very good wrestler who averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. And what makes him so impressive is he doesn't have a game plan. He just goes out there, gets into a fight, and goes with the flow. He's going to strike, and depending where things go, maybe he'll work in some wrestling. He's coming off the absolute destruction over Josh Emmett, where he had 3 takedowns and almost doubled the strikes. First of all, before I give you my pick here, there is a video. It's like a commercial for a sports book in Australia. And the theme of it is Alexander Volkanovski is old. So he invited these people to his home. Hey, record me. I'm going to show you. I'm not an old man. It is one of the funniest, best pieces of MMA content I have ever seen. It's all over the internet. You could find it in 5 seconds. It's hysterical. I mean, Volkanovski crushed that. Like, it was the acting. It was awesome. Go watch that after this. Don't leave this video, dude. Watch this video, then leave and go watch that. It's spectacular. And leaning into that he's too old narrative, there's a lot of statistics floating around. And all of them are basically saying Volkanovski is too old to win. One of the statistics is that in weight classes under middleweight, in the history of the UFC, only one person ever has defended their belt over 35 years old, and that was Tyron Woodley. I also saw another stat that said in the history of the UFC featherweight division, the younger fighter is 15-6 in title fights. But the twist on that is Volkanovski is 5 of those 6 wins. Point being, Volkanovski has defied the odds every other time, and there's no reason he can't here as well. I think Elliott Topuria is probably the only person in this division that can actually beat Volkanovski. He has power. He has wrestling. We know he's tough, but we haven't yet seen him fight anybody as busy, as well-rounded, or as skilled as Volkanovski. He has beaten everyone the UFC has gave him, but it hasn't exactly been a murderer's row. His first 2 UFC opponents have losing UFC records. Then he beat a one-dimensional grappler in Ryan Hall. Then he was dropped by Jai Herbert, and then he beat another one-dimensional grappler in Bryce Mitchell, and now he just finally beat a 40-year-old KO or bust Josh Emmett. I got to go Volkanovski here. The way he was knocked out 3 months ago by Islam is very concerning. That's the exact type of loss and knockout that starts a downward spiral skid. But I got to go Volk here. He hasn't shown me anything at this weight class to make me think he won't win this fight. The pick is going to be Volk. This is a phenomenal main event. I am not betting on this fight. This could be a changing of the guard. Elliott could be an all-time great. This could be Alexander Volkanovski beating Elliott down the exact same way he beat down every other person at this weight class. I'm looking forward to this main event. It's a fantastic main event. I do, for the sake of Volk and the accomplishments, I do hope he wins this fight, either rides off into the sunset or continues winning. I don't want to see Volk be Chuck Liddell. And if you've been watching this sport as long as I have, you remember the fall of Chuck Liddell. And it was not a graceful fall. I don't want Volk to be that. Go out on top, be the Khabib, beat Ilya, retire. That's the breakdown, guys. Do us a favor. Become a premium member. It's $10 a month, but for that money, you're going to get everything you have ever needed. It is the greatest premium membership in the MMA space. That is an objective fact. If you can find somebody that has a better premium product anywhere near this price point, I'll give you a free month. It's only $10 a month. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Not only are you going to get the picks, the bets, the round line leans, you're going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. You're going to get the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every single fighter on every single card. You're also going to get more than just me and that skinny red dude doing the live streams on Saturdays. You're also going to get MMA Minute, his picks, bets, round line leans. Running Mouth MMA, their picks, bets, round line leans. You're going to get Artem breaking down not just UFC, but LFA, PFL, all the regional promotions. And then you're going to get the Pick Doctor. He has built an AI. This AI pits fights based solely off of historical data, and it is doing it at an impressive win percentage. All of that and so much more for only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top.